They stood inside my chamber, their fingers aimed at me like the judgment of a firing squad. Outside, the police sirens painted the walls in a shifting mosaic of crimson and cobalt. The small pouch on my table was not mine, but my sibling Emily's subtle smile confirmed its damning purpose. "You were always the liability," she hissed, and my parents, the very people I was born to, gave a silent endorsement with their heads. "Just accept the responsibility." My mother's voice was frigid. "You'll only exacerbate the situation if you resist," my father added. His words a final, cutting blow. The sense of betrayal was a more brutal shock than the steel cuffs clamping down on my wrists. I had been raised to believe that a family was an impenetrable sanctuary. Emily, the very person I confided in under the cover of blanket forts, was now my accuser. My parents had sworn we would always shield one another. That fantasy had begun to erode as prior tiny fissures I had chosen to ignore. Her deceptions, their overt favoritism, the way my suffering never seemed to register. But this evening was not a fracture. It was a complete collapse. The officers interrogated me, their suspicion palpable. Yet, I did not cry out. I did not plead. I understood that panic only fueled their assumptions. Instead, I made a single request. I demanded my attorney. Months earlier, I had begun my preparations. Emily believed she was astute, sneaking into my room and leaving subtle traces of her malice: a misplaced wallet, a deleted electronic message, but I had noticed the patterns, the distinct hallmarks of her malevolence. I chose not to confront her. I adapted. I installed cameras in my private space, quiet, unwavering observers she never even considered. So when the sack of pills appeared on my desk, I already knew how the scenario would conclude. My lawyer arrived, composed and meticulous, and I handed him the digital drive. He waited until my parents leaned against the partition, smug in their conviction. Then, he initiated the playback. The monitor illuminated with a clear image of Emily entering my room, extracting the contraband from her handbag, and neatly concealing it beneath my notebooks. Her hushed laughter, and her whispered practice lines. "He won't be able to talk his way out of this." Then, my mother's voice from off-screen. "You'd better ensure it is irreversible this time," followed by my father's approving grunt. The room fell into an absolute hush. I watched the vitality drain from my mother's face first. Her lips quivered, but no utterances emerged. My father's mouth opened, then closed, and opened once more. Nothing. As for Emily, she was frozen, dread blossoming in her gaze as the edifice of her falsehood crumbled. One of the constables leaned in, his tone sharp as a blade. "Would you care to offer an explanation?" No one responded. For the first time, their silence was my defense, not my condemnation. But my purpose was not yet fulfilled. A reckoning without permanence is merely a reprieve. I proceeded with formal charges, not with a flourish or public drama, but with quiet, deliberate signatures on documents that ensured the consequences could not be dismissed. Emily was apprehended for possession and fabricating a police report. My parents were arrested as accomplices. They never anticipated I would see it through. They believed my allegiance was an unbreakable tether. They thought I would capitulate, that I would supplicate for their absolution. Instead, I gave law enforcement everything: the recordings, the history of their actions, even the old marks that corresponded with the fabrications they had told neighbors. The truth became a weapon, and I ensured its cut was profound. The court proceedings were detached and clinical, yet devastating. I had no need to elevate my voice. The evidence spoke with a resonance that far surpassed any outrage. I observed as Emily's legal counsel faltered, as my mother dissolved into tears while on the witness stand, as my father sat motionless, his authority stripped away. They attempted to manipulate the narrative, to portray me as the vindictive one, but every effort unraveled against the cold, irrefutable footage. I did not celebrate when the verdicts were handed down. I had no need to. Their decline was not about spectacle. It was about rectifying the imbalance. Several months later, I visited my former residence in New York. I did not go inside, merely stood on the pavement across the avenue. The drapes were now drawn. The grounds, once perfectly maintained, were unkempt. A placard proclaiming the place was for sale drooped near the entry. That sanctuary I had believed was my home was now a hollowed-out shell, its pretense exposed. I felt no grief. I felt liberation. People inquire if it was worthwhile, if destroying my own kin left me empty. Here is the reality. They demolished themselves the evening they chose deceit over me. I merely pulled off their masks. Emily lost her liberty. My parents lost their standing in society. And I gained clarity. I learned that kinship is not thicker than treachery, that stillness is a potent tool if you know how to wield it, and that sometimes justice is not about pardon, it is about making them beg in the very manner they once demanded I submit. So yes, when my lawyer pressed play and the truth branded them as guilty, that was the precise instant I became truly free, and liberty, unlike a family, never betrays.